Want to say a quick thank you to my YouTube and Patreon members and supporters. If you would like to support the future creation of content on this channel, get some few extra perks and some art sent to your door every month, consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. Details and links are in the video description. Over the weekend, via stream, I was talking with a lot of y'all. We had a good chat. I think it was on Friday night in the stream. I kind of talked about what I felt was going on at Square Enix right now. You know, they've been announcing a lot of delays, and I know COVID and all that, and I've seen a lot of the comments on my Twitter and on my YouTube page from people. Every time I bring this up, they're like, "Oh, as Square Enix fans, we're eating good right now," you know, and I get that. Right? Before you talk about how well we're feasting at the buffet for Square Enix, let's talk real quick, right? I am doing fine with what they're putting out right now because I'm a big fan of the remasters of the old, what I call the golden age era of JRPGs, that mid-90s, early 90s to like early 2000s, that decade period right there was just, there was something coming out every couple of weeks that was just great for like 10 years, right, as far as JRPG is concerned. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about what seems to be an issue with them pumping out AAA content, right? Forspoken delayed, Final Fantasy 16 delayed. I mean, all these delays, and there's going to be delays, right? But let's talk about a little bit where I'm coming from with it. We talked about it on the stream the other night, and again, you know, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, throw a like on the video. You watch YouTube videos, you know how this goes, all right? So let's talk real quick about, I'm not going to keep you all too long. Let's just talk real quick about a little bit of what I think is going on there from like a marketing and a business standpoint perspective. Right now, Square Enix has a lot of irons on the fire. They are trying to do a whole lot right now, and I wonder if they're a little overwhelmed with the success of Final Fantasy XIV Online. And let's make no bones about it, it is an immensely successful title. They are cooking right now. A lot of that success, and this is fact, a lot of the success is due to people jumping off of Warcraft and being like, well, what am I going to play now? Well, let me give this Final Fantasy XIV a try. And they've liked it, and they've stuck with it. I would say about 35 to 45% of the massive growth Final Fantasy XIV saw over the last 12 to 18 months was because of Warcraft players saying, I don't want to support this anymore, I'm going to go play this other game. And that, you know, fact, a lot of people did that. So I think that was something Square Enix wasn't necessarily prepared for. It's great for them and for the Final Fantasy XIV community, but at the same time, it put them in a position where I believe they weren't ready for that, and they've had to reallocate a lot of their personnel, a lot of their assets and like money and where it's going to keep that game running properly. And there's still server issues right now. Like, some people just can't play. And it is what it is. So anytime you have a successful venture with a game, that's going to happen. There's going to be hiccups. But now what we're seeing is things that were supposed to be coming out. Forspoken originally was coming out in February. Final Fantasy 16, there was never a window when people thought it was coming out. But people thought there would be some kind of like release date announcement right now. We're not even going to talk about Remake Part 2 because it's something like 2023 before we even see anything on that. Now, I know there's supposed to be some kind of big spring thing happening for Square Enix. An announcement, some kind of like their own state of play. Square Enix Presents, sorry, that's what they call it. The Square Enix Presents is supposed to be happening, so we'll see what happens with that. This is not a call of impatience. I see a lot of people out there being impatient, though. You can say COVID a lot, but these other companies are figuring out how to put their stuff out. Like, you know, Tales games are coming out. Trails of Cold Steel games, they're coming out. East games are working, they're coming out. You can go on and on. The games are happening. Capcom, they're for the most part, they're hitting their marks. So if you look at all these other companies, what they don't have going on, what do they not have going on? They don't have Final Fantasy XIV going on. So Square Enix does. You break things down to the most common denominator, and that's what it comes down to. So I said back around the holidays, I said Final Fantasy XIV something to do with that team, it's locking up the gears at Square Enix. So you can talk about the different divisions and stuff like that, but you can talk about that till you're blue in the face. It is what it is. This is not me dogging on any division. This is my take on what I see, and from a business standpoint, what I believe is happening. Different divisions will move people from here to there to work in different divisions. All hands on deck. You're going to pull people from divisions 1 and 2 to work with division 3. You're going to do all this other kind of stuff. It's not separate companies in one company. It's all one company. So if the president makes a call, to his managers, do this, do that, let's get this moving, let's get that moving, that's going to happen. So it's not all cut and dry. It's all one company. And if I was Square Enix, I wouldn't be saying anything about release dates at all right now. They announced the Valkyrie Elysium, which I like the Valkyrie series. It's a fun series. But that new Valkyrie Elysium looks a lot like Nier. And I don't know if that's because they're trying to market off of the success of Nier, which would be smart. It is a very successful series. Or if it's a situation where they're like, we had this on the books, we got to get this thing out. That's what they got to stay away from. They can't just say, we've had this on the books, we know this has to come out, we got to get it out to make our release dates, to make our quarterly projections and all this kind of stuff. Stay away from that at all costs. Stay away from that. Just don't even talk about release dates. Get your stuff out. That's what I hope they start doing, because if they start, sacrificing the quality to start moving things, to getting things out, which Valkyrie looks cool and it's the first trailer, I get that, but it looks like Nier to me. So Valkyrie should be its own thing. Forspoken's delayed, they know that. So if they stop talking about release dates, which I think it's smart that they've done that with Final Fantasy 16. I think it's so smart. They have not released a release date for Final Fantasy 16. They're not talking about release stuff for 7 Remake, because that's how you work it. You know you're having problems. They know they're having problems. They're not going to be public with those problems, but there are problems in the inner workings of the company right now. They're not talking about release dates. No 16 release date. Yoshi P came out and said, look, I only want to talk about this when we're close to releasing it. That's smart. That's what you do. So they're doing the right things. In a nutshell, what I'm saying is they're doing the right things to correct whatever's happening there right now. They're trying to correct it. They're making strides. They're doing things the right way to work around the newfound success of some of their other IPs, like Final Fantasy XIV. They weren't ready for this onslaught of business they're getting for it. They're course correcting. They're fixing things. They're doing the right things marketing-wise. They came out Forspoken. They said, hey, we're delaying this thing 8 months. It's going to be out in 8 months. That was smart. That was very smart of them to do. And Final Fantasy 16, no release date yet. Don't worry about it. That tells me they're taking their time and working on it and doing it the right way. That tells me they're doing the right things. They're being smart, and they're not trying to promise too much and give too little. And that's exactly what you want when you're talking about, how companies go about their business and do these things. So, all in all, basically what I'm telling you is, be patient. I know it's hard when you're a gamer, but look at all the stuff you've got to chew on right now. Look at all these games that you've got to play. There is no reason we can't be patient and do other things, get into other things. I know a lot of you all are like trophy hunters, platinum hunters. You got a lot to do. There's a lot to do. They just put out Elden Ring. We just got Elden Ring. We just got Horizon Forbidden West. We've got other stuff coming. I've got Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers Edition coming. I'm playing through Triangle Strategy right now, which is amazing. I can't wait to do a video on that game. So yeah, just be patient. Just be patient. And I think it'll save you all a lot of negative energy. I think it'll save you all a lot of grief in the long run. These things are coming. We all love Square Enix. We all want them to do well, right? So it's my hope that everybody just is patient. Let them work through whatever they're working on, and we'll see what happens. So that's all I'm going to say about that right now. Delays are a killer. You don't want to compound delays with production-killing antics, like putting out release dates for things that you know aren't going to be ready. Trying to overpromise and underdeliver. You don't want to do things like that in any kind of business, especially in gaming, where you have a very opinionated and frugal demographic that you're appealing to. So you have to be careful with those things. From a business standpoint, I think Square Enix is doing the right things now to course correct. I think they could have done these things earlier, but I think they were hoping they'd be able to fix these things and keep the ball rolling while they fix them. They realized it wasn't going to happen that way. They realized what a asset sink Final Fantasy XIV has become for them, and that's not a negative. That's just calling it is what it is. You know, that has slowed the production train at Square Enix. They're course correcting. They're not putting out any release dates right now unless it's like a remaster. They're not putting any release dates out for new stuff. They're not even showing a lot of stuff. They're not showing 16. They're not showing Remake 2. They're not really showing much of anything for Forspoken. They're like, hey, let's just hit the brakes. Let's get these done and project us to be out. Let's hit Q4 strong this year. I think that's their plan. I think that's their plan. Hit Q3 and Q4 strong this year. I think Final Fantasy 16 moves into a holiday game. It'll be right on the heels of Forspoken. I think that's where they're going with it. Anyway, my take. So hopefully that helps you all feel a little bit better about where things are going there. And, you know, we'll see what happens. So keep it locked in here. We got great stuff coming. Subscribe to the channel. Throw a like on the video so you know when I got new stuff coming. And feel free to become a Patreon, YouTube member, all that kind of good stuff. And until I see you all again, y'all have a great night. Be safe. Be good to each other. And keep rocking. I'll see you all in the next video.